Welcome, IT changemakers, to the Dex Show with Tim Flower and Tom McGrath. Let's get into it.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to a very special edition of Reality Bytes. Now, look, we've been doing Reality Bytes for a little while now. We hope you've all been enjoying it out there. We've certainly been enjoying it. We've been enjoying it, in fact, so much. We've been feeling so positive about it. We wanted to start a new special edition of Reality Bytes where once a month we make a special space in our panel of Nexthinkers and we invite somebody to fill that space and to tell us more about their perspective and their role and their insights. So it's a brand new concept, and we've got a very, very special guest to kick things off. It's Sam Gantner, our Chief Product Officer here at Nexthink. Welcome to the show, Sam. You're our guinea pig guest for this new Reality Bytes. How are you doing today?
Hey, Tom, thank you so much. And look, I'm very honored to be your guinea pig today. I'm doing fantastic, and I'm looking forward to spending some time with you and the team.
Excellent, thanks, man. Let's see how it goes. I hope we live up to that honor. But look, I'm super psyched to have you on, Sam. Look, I think Nexthink is a company where there's quite a lot of brain power going around overall. And you could never call one person the brains of the operation. And yet, at the same time, if you were going to call one person the brains of the operation, it could perhaps be the guy who, at every kickoff or whatnot, kind of shows up and tells everybody what's been developed, where the product itself is going, where innovation itself is going. So I'm really, really interested to hear a little bit more about you and a little bit more about your role. Let's start with the former, specifically your story and background. So tell us, Sam, what was a road that's brought you to this Chief Product Officer role here at Nexthink look like?
I think, like all stories, quite unexpected, right? I'm a techie. That's where I come from, right? And I started my career at Microsoft as a developer, so it was quite exciting at the time where people were still using Hotmail, if you can imagine.
Sure, yeah. I had a Hotmail account, for the record.
Yeah, everybody did, right?
Time. Yeah, man. Yeah.
And a little bit by chance, I ended up in Nexthink as an engineer. Actually, I was writing Finder. If anybody still remembers what that is. And after a couple of years that I was doing that, even less probably, Pedro told me, hey, Sam, I think you should be a product manager. And I was like, okay, what's a product manager? And I said, we're going to find it out together. And that's how the journey started. So that's how I became the chief product officer of the company at the end.
That's super cool. What year was that, Sam? And when you started on that road, how many Nexthinkers were you among at that time?
Look, I joined the company in 2011, and it was fantastic. We were 26 people, right?
Yeah,
globally. Yeah. 8 people in engineering, and then the other were in Paris, in Zurich, in Dubai. So it was really, really different from what the company is today.
Yeah, for real. And what do you think? I mean, what talents do you think stood out, perhaps to Pedro, or what do you think abilities there were in the way you worked and in what you could do that made you so suitable for this kind of expanded, more elevated kind of role ultimately?
By the way, something that I always tell everybody when they ask me, Nexthink has always been an unbelievably humbling experience because there are so many smart people around you every single day. Every single day when I go to the office, when I join a Zoom meeting, I'm learning something new by somebody that is fantastic. So I don't know about the particular talents, but I think to be successful as a product manager, you need to be very inquisitive. You need to always be asking why. You need to have a deep passion for delivering value end to end, and probably you need to be a little bit unsatisfied of things, right? Because you want this drive to continue to challenge, and in some ways you need to look at the negative aspects. So what is wrong with the product? How can I make it better all the time,
Yeah, of course. And it's a unique company, not only because of that, as you say, incredible amount of intelligence that is disseminated in every direction, perhaps but the Dex Show on a bad day. But also also we have a founder CEO, who's not only a founder CEO in, if you will, the typical sense, but was also, the developer of the first ever product itself. And I'm interested to know, what does creative technical direction look like today? How involved are you? How involved is Pedro? How involved are the developers themselves and the engineers themselves? Like, what does that whole process look like? In miniature. I don't think we've got more than half an hour, but I'm sure it's very complex.
Yeah, totally. It's a very collaborative environment, right? Yeah. You need to consider that every time that anybody has a conversation with a product manager, in one way or another, they're influencing the roadmap of the product and what's going to happen in the future. Now, obviously, it's really a pleasure to work with Pedro because he has this very clear vision of where the company needs to go and what the product needs to do. So he's a driving force behind everything that we do. When you look at this, how we structure things, usually it's really three parts. There are maybe the first and most important one is the big bets. What are the huge things that you're going to do in the next year or two that are going to shape the direction of the company? These big products that are going to make a huge difference. Application experience was one of them. Engage, Act, automation in the future. Those are all examples of that, right? Then the second aspect is the things that you just have to do that are important. Everything that is related to security, data privacy, compliance, all of these important features that are necessary to be in the market. And then the third one that is also extremely important is the continuous improvement that you bring into the product based on customer feedback, based on ideas of people that are using the product every single day. But there is space of innovation across all of these dimensions, and engineers play a huge role in defining all of those.
Very cool, very cool. Megan.
Yeah. Hi, Sam. Hi. So great to have you on the show. So excited for you to be our guinea pig. Bouncing off of what you just said about that continuous improvement and innovation, I'm interested in hearing how important innovation and creativity is across product development. I know we had a really successful hackathon last year, and I'm wondering, is that a way of avoiding the big company mindset where everyone is just like a cog in the wheel rather than like a potential inventor?
That's a fantastic question. Look, I think innovaton or not, Nexthink is really far from that, in the sense that there is space for innovation and creativity every single day. And, this innovation happens at different level, right? You can have the next revolutionary idea of what to do, or you can have a very smart idea of how to implement something faster, better, to give the UI that better look and feel. So, there are many dimensions to innovation. Now back to the innovaton, this is something that we've been running several years in a row, and it has brought so much to the company. The whole multi-tenant architecture that we have today, the whole principles upon which Nexthink Infinity is built, were actually born 3 years ago as part of an innovaton, a group of 5-6 very smart engineers and architects. They came together, they built a mock-up of this whole structure, and 3 years later is the reality that we live every single day in the product today, right? How exciting is that?
Wow.
Oh, yeah, that's so cool to hear. I hadn't actually heard that story. That's really cool. I guess, then talking about Infinity, obviously we launched Infinity last year. It's been huge. It's really exciting. So what was the standout for your department? And I guess, what was the biggest challenge in getting Infinity out the door and into the world?
Yeah. When we thought about Infinity, we had many constraints that we had to take into account, right? And we had to solve for multiple problems. Obviously, we wanted to build an unbelievable platform able to support future developments. But at the same time, we also wanted to be very concrete with the problems that Nexthink is solving and maintain these fantastic use cases that we used to have in the product. But we also had another thing that we wanted to work at, which is to say, you can launch Infinity, but you have 1,000 customers, and we want every single one of these customers to come with us. We don't want to leave it behind. And many companies, they take the simpler approach. They just launch a new product, and then they have the old product and the new product, and this whole transfer may take years, many, many years, and might never finish. But we didn't want that. We didn't want to leave all of these customers behind. So one of the big challenges was how do we integrate Infinity in the new platform in a way that people can seamlessly transfer from one end to the other, while being able to build this innovation, and while being able to provide these use cases end to end. And I think we found this magic formula. We should probably patent that. But we really have this situation today where we are able to provide Infinity to every single cloud customer out in the market. So everybody can take advantage of that because it coexists with the previous version of the product within the same user interface. And this is absolutely fantastic. Apart from that, there is this whole story around the scalability and the performance of this product, which is just mind-blowing with respect to what we had before, and with respect to what is state of the art in the industry, right? Mm-hmm. The amount of data that we're able to process in real time and the insights that we provide through this data are just incredible.
Yeah, Nexthink is such a kind of like customer first. Like we really care about the experience that our customers have. The experience, of course, and I think that really stands out in the way we've launched and thought about Infinity. That's really cool. I guess then one last question from me. Thinking more about you personally and your journey with the company, what is an aspect of Infinity, or could be something else entirely, but your personal highlight of the last year?
There are so many. I think seeing the product out and seeing it adopted by the customers and seeing how they reacted at Experience Everywhere when we presented for the first time was just an unbelievable thing. Because, when we look back 2 years ago, none of that existed, right? We started from scratch with a brand new platform in the cloud, with a brand new user interface. And 2 years at the end of the day for developing such a big thing is very fast, right? I think we had a fantastic time to market. And really seeing their smile, really seeing the nodding when you do the demo for the first time in front of 200 or 300 people, that was one of the biggest satisfaction from a professional perspective that I ever had in my career.
So 2023, if you had to describe your sense of where the industry at large is heading in terms of real focal point for the future innovation, its impact, where would that be?
I believe 2023 is going to be the year of automation, right? Everything that we're discussing in our customer advisory boards and with our executive sponsor and all of that leads me to believe that we're really reaching this point where end user computing is becoming very similar to DevOps, right? And this is why, by the way, we're really adopting this term of DexOps, right? This continuous cycle of bringing change into the environment and continuous improvement and working on the experience and fixing problems. And you can only get to that level of service and that level of dynamic change if you do this through automation, because manual processes are not fast and scalable enough, and they don't guarantee the level of quality that you need to have. So I think this is a huge opportunity that we all have to look at what are all these manual things, these things that are taking weeks or months today, that we can transform in something that is going to be executed in a matter of seconds, in a very repeatable and high quality way. Whether this is about provisioning things that employees need, whether it is about anticipating even their needs based on their behaviors to be able to offer always this seamless experience, or doing change management in a much more efficient and predictable way. So companies are moving there, and this is really the direction that I see as a huge opportunity. That, and at the same time, obviously, companies are very conscious about cost and about some of the opportunity to reduce cost, whether this is through making smarter in terms of consumed licenses, real usage, but also very importantly about everything that is related to hardware, right? Hardware not only has an impact on cost, but even on how we approach the planet. And if we look a little bit outside of the pure end user computing or IT role, I believe in the world today we have more and more awareness about the importance of our carbon footprint and sustainability, and hardware savings, making sure that what we purchase has a longer life is a fundamental aspect of that, right? The majority the carbon emission in the computing industry is really related to the hardware itself, the production, the transport, and so all of that. Energy is smaller when it comes to that. So that's another focal point where I think we have such a huge opportunity as an industry to improve things, to give a second life to certain of the assets that we have lying around, just to become a little bit more efficient and a little bit more aware of the consequences of what we're doing.
Completely agree. It's one of the highest demands that we have seen our customers walk towards in the recent times as well. So in general, what's the future of using AI more in the tech world, and what's your take on AI integrations into our day-to-day activities?
It's such a big opportunity that we have. We started doing that, by the way, to provide better insights and faster insights when it's about analyzing billions and billions and billions of events to try to figure out what are the root causes or what are the correlations between things that are happening. This is really where AI shines and where we're adopting it today. But we see many new directions as well, right? For instance, we're experimenting with natural language processing to transform a question into a query that we can execute in our system. So rather than having to use drag and drop to define your query conditions and all of that, or having to write code, you just ask the question in a natural language, and the system is smart enough to really interpret not only what you're writing, but actually the meaning of what you're saying, and to transfer this meaning into the query itself. We had this type of a system for a long time, but the problem that they experienced is that they would not be able to really understand the context. So you couldn't trust that it would translate your question correctly into a query and give you the correct result. But what we're seeing now with how the AIs are evolving is that they're becoming context aware, and so you can really trust the answers much more. But also to give insights, right? Just imagine if rather than looking at a dashboard or something like that, you can just ask the system, give me the learnings about this particular situation, tell them what are the biggest problems that my employees are facing, or what's the biggest incident that happened yesterday, just in a text format, and then you get a clear explanation of what is going on. This is really the next generation of service and answers that we can provide thanks to AI.
Which is amazing. It takes us to my last question today. Nexthink has a lot of products coming out this year, so I guess it would be great if you could give us a bit of a hint or an overview of what kind of products are coming up next.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Actually, we have two that are coming out in the next few weeks. The first one is Amplify, Nexthink Amplify. And the problem that we wanted to solve with this product is that obviously, we dream of a future where incident tickets don't exist anymore, right? Where employees don't need to open tickets anymore because we can anticipate any possible problem. But as the situation is right now, tickets still exist, right? People still need to report problem. And then the question is, when you're blocked by something that you need to report this is a problem, is how fast can the service desk resolve that, and to which level of quality? So Amplify is a product that is really aiming at dramatically improving that. And what it does is that it gives to level one the ability to quickly understand what the employee is facing, the ability to diagnose the problem, and even the ability to deploy automation to fix this problem on the fly. So rather than doing a screen sharing session that takes time, or rather than having to guide the employee through a long step list of things that they need to click to get their problem solved, they just click on a button and that is happening. So it's going to reduce the number of escalation, it's going to reduce the time that it takes to get the problem fixed, and it's going to increase the level of quality and certainty that we get when we need to call the service desk to fix this problem. So this one is Amplify. And then the second one is Experience Central, where we provide this top-down view of the whole environment to allow people to understand what are the key drivers of experience. And Experience Central is also at the core of establishing XLAs with vendors. So experience level agreements where we define a strategy and clear objectives around the type of experience levels that we want to provide. And those are not SLAs. So it's not based on this service is up, or you have this particular performance that doesn't necessarily equate to experience, but they're really based on measuring what people are experiencing in their environment every single day, whether they have the ability to work and do that in a pleasant way, or whether there's something that is preventing that. So those are the two products that are coming out, next month. And then later on, again, all of our efforts today are making the existing products better, but also thinking how do we bring this automation concept even more inside of the solution so that we can drive and empower these things. And we're going to have a product that comes out around that a little bit later in the year.
Amazing stuff, Sam. And if you had to pick one, or is it too much like picking one of your kids? Which is it?
Yeah. It's just impossible, I'm so excited about all of them coming out, and I'm just gonna take them one at a time and enjoy them as they hit the market, and as I'm gonna be able to see once again, hopefully those smiles when I get the opportunity to demo them,
And like with your kids, you got to see which one is the most successful, and then love that one the most, right? That's for parenting.
I don't know if you're allowed to do that.
Is that not how you do it? Is that not how you do it? I'm just kidding. Sam, that's awesome. There's one thing I wanted to pick up, actually. So you were talking about sort of natural language and AI. And how do you think that whole trend, because this is actually a long-running conversation we've had on Reality Bytes specifically, how do you expect that trend to impact the career of IT and the professional skill set itself, of people become increasingly able to request in, as it were, normal language what they want and need, and systems become smart enough to respond to those requests in a sort of automated fashion?
One of the worries that people often explain when they think about AI is, is AI gonna take our jobs, right? At the end of the day. Sure. And I was watching a fantastic video on LinkedIn yesterday that I shared across everybody that I know. And there was this girl that was explaining exactly that. And she said, look, it's like that guy so many years ago that, saw a calculator and say, calculators are going to take all of our jobs away. And, they're going to take the jobs away of the people that add and subtract as a job, right? Yeah. So I think the point with AI is that we need to learn how to use it to become much better at our job. And it's just a tool. Like any other tool is an opportunity to get us to the next level. But we also need to understand how to interpret what it's telling us. And we need to understand how to use it really to really get the outcomes. So this is how I see AI evolving in the future.
Yeah, very cool perspective. And listen, if listeners... as ever, if they're ever interested in getting more perspectives on some of the themes Sam touched upon today, please do head over, as I always say, to the Dex Show Dex Hub Mothership. Links in the show note. But if you want to delve a little deeper into some of the sort of product innovation that Sam's spoken about, please head over to the Nexthink blog specifically, or the Nexthink site, and we'll have links to everything there down below this episode in the show notes. But Sam, look, it's been a scintillating experience to have you on the show, man. That was a great way to kick off this new edition of Reality Bytes. I hope you enjoyed being our guinea pig. How was it for you, mate?
It was a lot of fun. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed being the guinea pig, and I hope you're going to invite me another time in the future. We're
definitely going to invite you another time in the future. At the very latest, I think we should do this at the top of every year to hear what's coming down the pipe directly. Thanks so much, Sam. We'll see you soon, yeah?
Thank you, guys. Cheers.
Bye. Goodbye.
To make sure that you never miss an episode, subscribe to the show in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast player. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, make sure to leave a rating of the show. Just tap the number of stars you think the podcast deserves. If you'd like to learn more about how Nexthink can help you improve your digital employee experience, head over to nexthink.com. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time.